before the podcast today, we just want to say a word or two on the situation in Gaza. It's a horrible cycle of violence that's taking place, and it must end soon. So we are encouraging you and anyone else that you know to donate to the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. Thank you.
Hey Danny, how you doing, man?
Olo.
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 Oh, I love this movie, man.
Well,
But I think the weird Megamind can't speak English very well thing. It wears thin quite quickly because clearly he can speak fine.
yeah.
And it's just a confusing punchline that I think if it was just one or two things like he couldn't say the word school because he can't.
Yeah.
Then yeah, fine. But it wears thin and it picks its moments very obviously. It's quite strange.
Yeah, and he calls Metro City Metrocity, which is quite funny, I have to say.
I do quite like that one.
But before we
Okay,
get to that,
Yes,
We've got-
before we get to cinematic masterpiece that is Megamind.
yeah, we've got some bullshit. So, whee! The many sides of Glasgow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Is it... Okay, right. I'm going to keep track of these sides, and then we're going to figure out what shape Glasgow is.
okay, so it's mainly two sides that I want to talk about, right?
Oh, so a coin.
What? Yeah, a coin. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. A coin. No. Okay, so some stuff has happened recently in Glasgow that really just stand opposite to each other. Last week, I don't know if anyone saw it. There was
Oh God, yeah. Sorry, I'm interrupting massively. Yeah, carry on.
there was a protest in a place called Pollock Shields, and it stopped the Home Office from removing immigrants from their community, and the protest managed to get the people who were sort of put in a van taken out, and it ran through all of sort of my social media. Like, all my friends were saying, if you can make it to Pollock Shields, please come and all that. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is really cool that everyone's getting involved in this. And it worked. The people were released. Amazing. And a lot of people picked up on it. A lot of social activists were saying this is what solidarity looks like. And I was like, wow, I'm really touched by what I've seen. When people, come together. And because it's the city that I live in, that makes it extra cool.
Yeah.
But the other side, a couple of days ago, Rangers won the Premier League or something, and
Okay.
thousands upon thousands of people were in George Square and fucking trashed the place. They were fighting for no fucking reason. I had no idea why that was happening. And it just, it was like, how can so many people do one really good thing and then so many other people do something really fucking stupid? It just was so, and it happened in the same week.
Yeah.
That is just, it reminds me of when Glasgow was voted the UK's friendliest city, but also Europe's murder capital. And that was also in the same week. What the fuck? But
No, those are two statistics that don't go together.
no, they don't. But they do somehow. But yeah, it just really surprised me, and I just kept thinking about the fucking the litter council workers that are gonna have to go out and fucking clean all that shit.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really fucking
would
disgraceful.
certainly not want to be among them. I suppose it comes down to like a couple of things. I think it's unlikely that it's the same group of people at those two events. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's if you're the kind of person that sort of wants to go and help stop a family from being deported, it's unlikely you're also the kind of person that wants to go and fight in the street. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think those, in terms of Venn diagram, I think there's probably very little overlap. I think maybe it's also something about the mob mentality of like a lot of football fans or whatever all together. sort of really a lot of anybody all together, unified towards a single goal. They've got a lot of energy, and it's like I think. I don't know. I think at some point it can sort of reach a critical mass.
Yeah.
I think.
I
think it's things happen that I think no individual member of the crowd would do on their own, but by virtue of somehow it's a group of people all together, things just happen. I think it's bizarre, fascinating as like a psychological study, but also horrendous to look upon.
Yeah, definitely. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna look up the actual reason that they were out, just so I'm getting it right. Infighting broke out amongst Rangers fans who gathered to celebrate. What did they celebrate for? Pull up to George Square earlier. Okay. So, following the team lifting the Scottish Premiership trophy. Okay, so they won the Scottish Premier. Right. Okay, so that's why.
Okay.
And they were throwing smoke bombs. They were hitting people over the head with bottles.
Right.
People were just getting beat up. So it was really fucking shocking.
That does sound pretty shocking. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't understand. I just don't get it. What I did see was other football teams supporters saying, "Oh, we would never do that," which I don't believe for a fucking second.
No. Yeah. It's Yeah, I think it's hard to say. I say it's hard to say. It's like one of those impossible things, because what does it mean to say you are a Rangers fan? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is some little 6-year-old kid going to his first Rangers game? Is he as much of a fan as some guy that's been going for 50 years? He's gone every Saturday when they've been playing or whatever. Are they in the same category as each other?
Yeah.
And are they in the same category as some other guy who gets absolutely plastered every single Rangers game, and he's more there for the drinking and his mates than he is for the football? The football is just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's sort of... I remember years and years ago, I think it was a London-based team, because I remember there was something about a tube station involved in the story, and there was allegations of racism between different different fans of this particular team, and in response to that, other London-based teams sort of made that was it. It was there was a group of people. They all wanted to go to this football game, and there was this group of white fans who were on a tube train, and a black fan of the same team came up and said, "Can you just squeeze up a bit so I can get in?"
Yeah.
And they said, "No, you're not coming in. You're not coming in," sort of thing, because he was black.
Oh.
And later that day, I think it was fans of, like, I mean, I'm not going to pretend I know the micropolitics of London-based football, but
Yeah.
it was fans of, like, another London-based football team that it was a couple of white fans on a train deliberately filmed a video where a black friend of theirs, also wearing the scarf and hat and all that of the same team, sort of came up to the door and said, "Can I get on?" They said, "Of course, my friend, get on the train." And it was like people making sort of light-hearted jokes about it, saying, "Oh, we wouldn't do that." I remember they reported this on the news and showed this quick video, and then some expert they got in said, and of course later that day, fans of that second club, the people that made that sort of jokey video, other fans of that club also made racially aggravated comments towards black people. And it's like, well, it's impossible to say, because...
Yeah.
What's that thing? There are some professions in which you can't have bad apples, like pilots, doctors, but... because of the sheer all-encompassing nature of something like football as a concept, how many people would consider themselves a fan of, I don't know, Man United? Millions? Billions of people? I honestly don't know. Not all of those people can be what I would consider to be morally upstanding people. Do you know what I mean? It's just a case of the statistics of it. And as much as that's shit, don't get me wrong, that's not a good thing. I think you have to sort of understand... I think if half a dozen people of the mob that gathered in, what did you say, King Square?
George Square.
George Square. If half a dozen people of the mob that gathered in that square were sort of particularly violent people, or particularly drunk people, or particularly aggressive people, it's unfair to tar everybody with the same brush. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, it's just such a fucking difficult thing to talk about, because I want to say, like, yeah, it's really shit, and I don't know. It's. I want to say it's a problem with, like, it's hard to pin down what the problem is, because the problem is the individual people that believe it's acceptable to act this way. But in reality, you can't say, oh, no, it's the individual people. Because then it's like, well, should we then just check every single person to see whether they're allowed to be a fan of Rangers? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Do you know what I really see it as is like it's a precursor to like the sort of horrors that you see from like nationalism and like tribalism. It's because I mean, think about it. It's a game where you kick about a ball, and you get like points from it, and then you win. And somehow
you kick a bag of air about for 90 minutes. Yeah.
But like the problem is that you're raised. I mean, I certainly got a bit of it, like because some members of my family are very avid Rangers supporters, and some are very sort of big Celtic supporters. So there was a bit of a sway. It was like, oh, we've got my Rangers top, and my mum was like, no, he's no fucking wearing that. Not because she wanted, like, she didn't want me to wear anything, because she knew the sort of like really violent sectarianism that goes on from it. Yeah, and it's just, if you're raised like it's not as like. Well, it must be, because in your head you don't think of it as like something like an indoctrination sort of thing, but there must be some of that to some extent if you're actually willing to go out and fucking beat people up over it. You know, it must be pretty
it is
pernicious.
Sort of a gentle indoctrination in a very strange way. It's like, in a way, it's a microcosm of like I was born in Stoke, and for anybody who doesn't know, there are two football teams in Stoke: Stoke City and Port Vale. I happen to be born on the side of the city where Stoke City is more popular, and I happen to have a dad who's a big Stoke City fan. So I went to a couple of football games. It wasn't really my thing, and then I just never really cared about it ever again. But I also went to school with other kids that were like, also, like, there's this one boy I went to primary school with, who literally, he lived walking distance from my house. And he supported Liverpool Football Club, which is, I don't know how far away Liverpool is from here, an hour and a half, 2 hours drive. So it's not like it's even nearby. And I remember asking him, have you got, like, family in Liverpool or anything? And he was like, no, my mum and dad are from Stoke. It's like, okay, so why? I don't understand it. Can you explain it to me? And he sort of couldn't really sort of come to a head on it. And it's that sort of, it's the accident of being born in Stoke is what meant that it was suggested to me, oh, maybe you should support Stoke or whatever it might be. If I was born 60 miles in any direction, it'd be, maybe you should support Manchester. Maybe you should support...
Exactly.
Say, is there a Birmingham Football Club? I've got no idea, but there must be. I doubt it's called that. But yeah, like, it's an accident of birth, and the fact that people are sort of so indoctrinated and wound up into it, and to, like, as you say, go out and beat people up, it's utterly insane. But then it's, again, I do see what you mean about how it's like the precursor to nationalism, which it sounds like, oh Christ, Jimmy voice there. It sounds like an overreaction, but it's, if you sort of take it and sort of blow it up a bit, it kind of, you can see it. It's the accident of me being born in a Christian neighbourhood. Was that I went to a primary school where I went to Easter services and we did nativity plays. If I was born in a country where Islam was the predominant religion, I wouldn't have done those things. I would be, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's, it's yeah, you're right. It is a weird thing to indoctrinate kids into in a strange way.
Yeah. It's actually a good sort of follow-on to the film that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, bizarrely.
Ultimately, we are all products of our surroundings.
Yeah,
and where we're raised is, you know, partly who we become. Yeah. So I'm so sorry to the people that have to clean up that mess, and you know, really fantastic job to the fucking protesters who managed to get those people released. That was fantastic.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
Yeah. But should we talk about an absolute classic?
Yes, we should talk about an absolute classic. I'm glad you seem to like this film, because I was gearing up for an hour and a half of me shouting at you and convincing you that this was in fact a brilliant film.
No, it's a good film.
My opening statement is, I
Whoa, whoa,
genuinely...
whoa,
oh,
whoa,
no, we haven't done,
whoa,
we
get
haven't
the
done credits and
credits.
stuff. Bloody hell.
This film, Megamind, was written by Alan Schoolcraft and Brent Simons, and it was directed by Tom McGrath, and it is starring Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, and David Cross.
Indeed it is. Have you heard about David Cross's brother, Chris? Chris Cross.
Oh, fuck's sake.
I entertain myself. Have you got an opening statement, Cocker?
Yes. A classic animated film that, like a lot of DreamWorks films, seemed to catch on much later and is better than I remember it being. Lewis is very excited.
I am thrilled. My opening statement is, I genuinely believe this to be one of the greatest films that has ever been made. I genuinely believe that this is an incredibly brilliant film, and I am saddened by the fact it hasn't got more attention. Right, Chloe pointed this out. This came out in the same year as Despicable Me. And yet, somehow, people picked up and ran with the minions from Despicable Me, rather than this masterpiece of a film. I genuinely think this is an incredible movie.
Well, let's get into it. First thing, I question this version of the US's policy on prisons looking after children. Just a child appears, and they're like, "Can we keep him?" And then he just grows up in jail.
I know. You're right. That is a bit fucked.
But yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of surprised that Oh, sorry. No, on you go. You're excited. Let's
aside
hear it.
from okay, right. Here is one of the number one good things about this film. There are important moral lessons throughout the film, which you are encouraged to learn on your own, rather than them being sort of forced down your throat, sort of thing. For example, you're sort of shown in the film, maybe we should consider scrutinizing our idols because they could be arseholes, essentially. Maybe we should scrutinize Megamind. What's his fucking name? Metroman. Because maybe we should scrutinize Metroman, because what if his moral code is different than we think it could be? And of course, he grew up in this incredibly privileged environment. Everything was brought to him whenever he wanted it. Maybe somebody who grows up like that won't turn out to be the most morally upstanding individual. Plus, the fucking brilliant thing, there is value in losing, and there is value in learning from your mistakes.
Yes.
I was literally this morning, while I was doing dishes, I was listening to a podcast. Which, after you've listened to all of our episodes of our podcast, you should go and listen to it. It's called Ologies. The host, Ali Ward, released an episode where she interviewed someone who is a ludologist, which is someone who studies games and video games. And the scientific consensus behind I will bring this back to Megamind, don't worry. The scientific consensus behind video games is the value in playing them lies in being shit at them at first and then learning to be good at them. That learning process is the valuable thing, because it means that when you approach a new skill that you have to learn, if you suddenly find yourself at a nursing home and you have to learn how to whittle, you'll be like, well, I'll be crap at this at first, but then I'll learn and then I'll get better at it. And I think that is the value of this film, is Megamind learns from his mistakes. This ties into another one of my notes. Yeah. Megamind's redemption arc is earned. He realizes what his flaws are. He realizes what a bad person he is and what it truly means to be a bad person. And then he works to become a better person. He does good things. What's that? Oh, that's it. It's, again, from The Politician, one of the best scripted shows I've ever seen.
I still haven't watched it.
You fucking need to. But one of the characters is sort of concerned about his sort of moral standing, and he's like, I don't know if I'm a good person or I'm a bad person. I don't know if I know I want to do good things, but I don't know if I'm good or bad. And somebody sort of takes him by the hands and sort of says, look, you want to do good things. That sounds like a good person to me. Good people do good things. You judge people based on their actions, not their intentions, and all this sort of stuff. And Megamind works to become a better person. He works to understand what it is to be a good person, and he works to make that happen and to achieve it. It's not a finger snap, instant, and I'm the good guy again, like what the Lorax sort of threatened to do with O'Hare. Instead, it's a sort of a what's the word? He steps along the way to becoming a better person, and you walk with him, and it's utterly fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, I've talked enough. Go on, you have a bit.
Do you know, I really see a lot of Jimmy McGill in Megamind.
Yeah, definitely.
Jimmy McGill is a character who has done some bad things in his life, and really, through the encouragement of his establishment that he works in and his brother, he has been made to feel as if, you know, that's who he is, and like he's been encouraged by this his surroundings to be a bad person, to be ruthless and cold-hearted, even though you know that Jimmy is a character that's full of empathy and full of joy, but but because of the intense pressure that he's been faced by his brother and the establishment around him, he decides, no, I'm going to be exactly what they think I am and worse.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Megamind at the beginning is just, he's put into this prison. He's taught, to be a menace to society by the criminals in the prison. Burglars are good, police officers are bad, sort of thing. Well, they are, but
yeah, let's obviously
yeah,
the
let's not
justice
go
and
down
police
that road.
system is flawed. Let's not go down that route today.
Yep. But when he goes to the nursery where everyone else is, when he goes to school, he doesn't. He's just trying to impress his classmates, and like because he makes a mistake, he's put in the corner. He's sort of ignored and sort of made to feel like shit. So if you treat someone as bad, like from the beginning of their life, they're probably gonna internalize that and become bad. I'm surprised that he didn't turn out worse, because all he seems to do is just steal stuff. I mean, he tries to kill Metroman, obviously, but he doesn't actually want to kill Metroman. He just likes the...
Yeah, he likes the theatre a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd be brilliant
He
as a
understands
WWE wrestler.
entrances.
Do you know what I mean? As a villain. In
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah. But he's got this creativity. He's like, he's just completely, who he is completely undefined at the beginning of his life. Whereas Metroman is, I think, is like groomed to be this hero.
Yes,
like
definitely.
you're saying about with his privilege and all that, and because of the sort of, that guy is good and I'm clearly a bad guy just by the way I've been brought up, and it's just okay, I'll just be that from now on then. And then when he gets what he wants, he realizes, this is shit because I don't have the good guy to fight. It's a bit like there's a quote from Batman the animated series when someone kills Batman and the Joker just stops committing crime, and he's like, without Batman, crime has no punchline. It's like, villains are like nothing without their heroes, and if you've internalized to be the bad guy, you're gonna have to have a good guy to stop you, and because there is no good guy to stop you, then logically you have to then become the good guy.
It's you're right. He sort of realizes. I think all through the film, I don't think I'd ever call Megamind a villain. Like, don't get me wrong, he does, like, what is it? He puts people into weird frozen cubes or whatever. He's a pantomime villain. Yeah,
exactly.
But he's sort of, I think
He's
all
like a
through the
villain
film,
in
he
the
just
Adam
wants
West
to be
show.
loved, and then he realizes what it means to be loved and what it means to be kind to others and therefore be loved in return, sort of thing.
Yeah, he's like a child dressing up as like Darth Vader.
Yeah, pretending
the child
to
doesn't
their friends.
The child doesn't actually want to like kill his son and wife and half the galaxy and commit genocide. The child just likes the aesthetics of dressing up as someone and acting. I used to do that. I enjoyed that, but I don't like doing bad things. I mean, it's like it's all theatre. It's all playing, and when it's when he actually has to face a moral quandary, his essence, his core, is becoming a good person, and because he is, like he's just not been allowed to do that because of his societal surroundings.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's the same with Metro Man. He hasn't been allowed to be who he is, which is actually quite a selfish person.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit about. He's quite happy to just pretend to die and allow Megamind and then Titan to take over and pursue his music career. Look, what? What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's not a very good person.
No, you're right. It's again, it's a weirdly fucked up thing about like in theory, for Metro Man to commit sort of the most positive sort of thing to all of society, can you just crank this lever forever, please?
Yeah.
At the speed of light forever to generate infinite electricity.
Yeah.
It's like a weird thing. I love the point this film makes about how somebody is raised and what effect that has on them, because at the end of the day, like Megamind and Metro Man are kind of, they don't swap places, but emotionally they kind of do. Like Megamind plays the villain of this very selfish man in his cave and all this sort of stuff, and Megamind I keep fucking messing up the names. Metro Man plays this altruistic, everybody loves him and he loves everybody person, and then they sort of swap over time. Metro Man becomes this very self-centered person, and Megamind is like, no, I just want to make people happy. I just want people to live in a world that they love to live in, sort of thing.
Yeah. I give this film the credit for having the precursor to characters like Homelander.
Yep.
And Omni-Man from Invincible. It's called. It seems to me that the sort of archetype of Superman is this, American schoolboy or Boy Scout who's going to save us all from evil. It's like it's that is being critiqued now a lot more because fundamentally it's not a very good archetype to have, to be sort of all powerful and trust in the strong man
you're right,
to save everyone, because he may become
like Titan.
Like Titan, a lunatic, an insecure lunatic, or like Homelander, an insecure lunatic, or like Omni-Man, a xenophobic supremacist. It's like people with who are born like that and are born with immense privilege. Why would they suddenly care about people that are in reality and probably in their heads lesser than them?
Exactly. It's you're right. Born into immense privilege, and then you sort of you just believe that you are superior, and it's like, well,
and you're told by everyone
calm it
as
down,
well.
Superman, Jesus Christ. Yeah, exactly. It's even in a very not oblique. What's the word I'm looking for? In a very sort of offhand way, when the man is like, "Oh yes, I got you a baby for Christmas," which I'm not quite sure how that one went down when the man finally put his newspaper down. But and he says, "Oh yes, only the best for you, dear," and the baby can fly and shoot lasers out its eyes and all this sort of stuff. But
they speak about the baby as if it's property.
Yeah, which is disgusting and insane. I suppose maybe that's here's a new reading that we're gonna slowly work our way through. What?
Are you gonna talk about capitalism?
Well, I mean, I do think the film is about capitalism to some degree. But, this specific point I'm about to make isn't about capitalism. I think is the movie perhaps on some tertiary level saying something about how Metro Man was brought up as a piece of property, and the job of raising him was treated as like a vocation, of like, raise the boy until he's 18 and then he'll go to university and he'll get a degree. It was treated as a vocation. But Megamind, he was treated as, he was loved by the prisoners, strangely. Even in a situation where he had all the disadvantages in the world, he was still loved and he was still appreciated and cared for and kept warm at night and all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
That love, perhaps, is the thing that really separates the selfishness of Metro Man from the selflessness of Megamind.
Yep.
I was shown love and I know how to sort of dispense love as well, sort of thing. Like Metro Man, he was privileged. He's never worked for what he's got, and he's a dick. Because he's never worked for what he's got, he doesn't appreciate the value of the things he has because he hasn't earned them. They've just been a part of his life forever. And it's the same for Titan. He's never worked for anything. It's complete luck that he was the guy who got a superhero bolt to the face, and then he's a dick about it because he's just... It's like the superhero serum from the Marvel Cinematic Universe when Stanley Tucci says to Steve Rogers, I need somebody who is not a great soldier, but a great man. And then the serum will do the rest, sort of thing. I think... Do you see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah, definitely.
I think... go on.
I have to disagree with Titan not working for anything because Hal is like a cameraman, and I think that's more of a commentary on how embittered people, when they get a turn at a system that's, like people who are considered to be at the bottom of the system, once they get to the top of that system, it's not that life becomes better. It's just that they too are corrupted, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying that power I'm not saying that power corrupts Hal, because Hal is a piece of shit before he even gets the power. He's weird, he's creepy, he's like, yeah, come round to mine, it'll just be the two of us. He's emotionally sort of insecure when Roxanne talks to another guy. He's not a good person to begin with, but when you give someone who sees probably themselves as quite small and can never get the girl, that's a big fucking trope. When they get power and can finally actualize their weird fantasy of this is the only thing keeping us apart, me not being like Metro Man, then they can't handle rejection very well, and become a complete and utter lunatic.
I do like how the film sort of it deals with incels in a strange way. Like
Chloe said this when she was on the podcast, like it was ages ago. And I watched a video by what's his name? Shafrillis Productions.
Okay.
Who makes the exact same point that he is an incel, and how like the cultural sort of it was very sort of popular. Well, it wasn't popular then, but it's sort of popular now. You hear about incels online and stuff like that, and you have horrendous fucking attacks by someone like Elliot Rodger, who's considered to be an incel. So it's not an issue that can just be swept under the rug. ContraPoints has done videos on incels. Yeah. But yeah, he certainly seems to fit that archetype.
Because he's indoctrinated himself in a strange way into this victim complex in which it's always somebody else's fault when one of his own character flaws sort of presents a problem. So when all of his character flaws as he sees them are erased, then he's sort of like, well, now things are just bad and it can't be my fault because it's never been my fault, sort of thing. He's in an ideal world, he wants to be sort of forced to do some introspection and sort of he needs a healthy dose of self-loathing. Do you know what I mean? It's this is one of my notes. Obviously, this is a cartoon, but the message rings true. Some people need a healthy dose of what the fuck does that say? Of humility and self-loathing. Some people need a very a sort of a look at yourself, look at what you are, and deal with that before you try and critique the world. I think some people do need a bit more of an idea of who they are as a person.
Yeah. It is ultimately about, like, not being defined as by what society tells you, and also self-improvement. Because when Titan gets his powers, he immediately just gives up being a hero
Mm.
and like just starts stealing stuff, and he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's just so boring. It's like it takes hard work and perseverance to
You're
actually
right.
do good, you know. And if you feel entitled to something, and you haven't had the means to get it for your entire life, when you suddenly have the means, why the fuck would you do good? You know, if you've been conditioned to believe that you're entitled to something that you're not,
Yeah, exactly.
and then you get it, and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah, I deserve it. But he's a really realistic villain, actually.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
is.
which is he hits close to home sometimes. Oh my god, he's also a raging anti-monarchist. What I like,
Is he?
you know, yeah, he doesn't even acknowledge the Queen's existence.
Oh,
So you
because
know,
he says the Queen of England. There
yeah,
is
he's
no
like,
Queen of England.
there is no Easter Bunny, there is no Tooth Fairy, and there is no Queen of England. It's like, you know, I've got to respect him there. He doesn't even. He doesn't even. She doesn't even exist in his head.
No, yeah,
So that's
it's,
his only saving grace.
um, I know what you mean. It's I think I have this weird sensation now. Like I've suddenly just been screaming about like self-actualization and self-improvement, and now I'm like, like sat in
Yep.
my chair, slumped down. Like, okay, I've done my rant about how amazing Megamind is. Now what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think it's an impressive message, not only just for the film in general as a piece of cinema, but considering that this is sort of a kids' film, it's a worthwhile thing to teach kids. Of like, be critical of everything, including yourself. Concern
Yes.
yourself with what is wrong with this thing, and can I do anything to solve it? If I can't, that's okay. What can I do to improve me? Do you know what I mean? That's an important thing to teach kids, rather than to teach kids, no, you are entitled to things. You are entitled to this and that. And I think here's a weird take. You know, when you meet somebody, and you can sort of tell that when they were a kid, their parents never said, go outside and mow the lawn now. Do you know what I mean? You meet somebody and you can sort of tell that
Yeah.
they've never had to do something just because they've never had to do some manual labor for some reason, and they have this very entitled attitude. And I think it's a very important lesson to teach to kids that I think Megamind really sort of nails, of like self-improvement and there's a value in losing. And this film is just really wonderful. I really adore this film.
Yeah. I really appreciate when media let stories have like plot points that are started and then are followed through.
Yeah.
Like Megamind's inventions were shown, the thing being turned into a cube and then water sort of turning it, and that's a clever way of solving the problem of the film. You've got the car that was left where it was,
Yeah.
which is like, it's just neat little plot points that are carried on and then followed through, you know.
Yeah, it's the Chekhov's gun. Every gun that ever appears on screen should be fired at least once. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You follow through on everything, yeah.
I love I love that Megamind thought that having a copper dome would let stop, because wait, and that's another thing. Look, what the fuck? So Metroman lies and says, "Oh, copper drains my power," without ever thinking ahead as to what if there's another superhero, like, you know, what if he and copper doesn't do shit, like, as we see with the copper dome that's tried to trap Titan. But I'm really just thinking of wee things now, because the main points have been.
Yeah, I think
have
the
been
important
hit.
things about the film are the important things about the film, which is a nonsense statement, but it makes important and impressive points really effortlessly, which I adore.
Yeah,
it's really good, and I like that. I like what's her face, Roxanne Ritchie. She's a good
Yes.
character. I really enjoy her character. She is an individual. She is just a person trying to do stuff. I think it's like the inverse of Superman. Lois Lane is very much a foil for Clark. It's a romantic interest for Clark Kent, and I like that Roxanne Ritchie is a person. She's an actualized person.
Yeah, because it's like normally you see in superhero comics it's Superman that saves the day, but
Yeah.
Superman's gone. You know, he's selfishly fucked off to
Yeah.
do his own thing. So it's up to this convicted felon and this
Yeah.
journalist who's been left behind to actually try and save the city.
Metrocity. Yeah.
Metrocity. And it's weird because it's almost as if his Megamind is responsible for Titan, and like it's him trying to recreate the same toxic sort of dynamic that he was in before, where he's treated like a criminal and put back into the prison, which, like, if someone has like a toxic sort of trait that they have that's been sort of internalized, it is more comfortable to try and get back to that
Yeah.
rather than trying to self-improve yourself, because it might seem like that's the only logical thing to do. So that's what he does. He tries to recreate the same pattern that he's been in, and then he eventually realizes this is not going to work at all. It didn't work then because, I'm not a bad guy at heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't really be treated as one anymore because even he doesn't feel it. So he makes the necessary steps to actually get
to
out of
improve himself
the funk
and,
that he's in, So it's actually quite mature when you put it that way.
Yeah. It's really good. Oh, you're a villain, all right, but you're not super. What's the difference? Presentation. That's so brilliant. I love that.
Will Ferrell is really good as Megamind. I've got to say,
I think
Will Ferrell
Ferrell's
does
underrated
some...
in general,
I think he's overrated sometimes.
Okay.
Like, sometimes his performance goes way, way over the top.
Okay.
And him screaming is funny sometimes, but sometimes it's him just doing really stupid things. But he really gets he really suits Megamind.
He does, yeah.
His sort of weird, glossy way of speaking. No, he really does that character well. The fact that Metro Man is played by Brad Pitt, the sort of like embodiment of Hollywood perfection.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you see this really flawed character. That's quite cool. Tina Fey, who plays Roxanne Ritchie, who's always been the subversive presence in the films that she's in, whether it be Mean Girls. She's the one who actually actualizes the route to being better people and not being, horrible towards each other. So she's,
totally.
She's a really good presence in the film. Jonah Hill is Titan.
I quite like that they go against type with that. I like that Jonah Hill is... I always get confused which one's Jonah Hill and which one's Seth Rogen. Jonah Hill was in Evan Almighty, wasn't he? It's
he plays... Have you ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
I have, yes. That's him, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I, for a second I was like, hang on, it's not Seth Rogen, is it? Yeah, I like that they kind of went against type for Titan. It because he's often seen as... Sorry, the actor... What's his pissing name?
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, that's it, because he's often the comedic relief in a more serious film. And then when things step up into a more serious film in Megamind, Jonah Hill, he sort of doubles down on the seriousness. It's more like under new management, and then he lasers stuff into the city. Like, he's going to destroy the city. That's what he says to Roxanne.
Everyone.
I'm going to kill everyone and destroy the city in a bit if Megamind doesn't show up, so who gives a fuck?
Yeah, that's the thing. Look, when there's someone who's seen as a sort of laugh object and you laugh at them continuously, when they then have the means to, bring destruction down upon you, it's really unsettling the way he does that. Like, when he's rejected by Roxanne at first, it's like, no, you're supposed to let, and it's like, it's the same voice of the guy that we're laughing at who got shot in the face by the thing and has a burst nose, but now he's a really scary guy because it's not like the classic mwahaha. It's a really embittered, insecure, toxic person with the means to act out their bitterness, which is really fucking scary.
Yeah, and
you know?
I this is a bit of a weird one, but in terms of aesthetic, I quite like that Titan still fits the superhero aesthetic of like the white outfit, and he's clean shaven, he's aesthetically good looking. I like that he fits the Metro Man hole basically, and then he's just this awful person. I like that the film goes that way with it.
That's what observations have been made about Superman figures over the years. They look like, they're in bright colours. They often have US colours.
Yeah.
And
Captain America,
yeah.
Homelander.
But when you think about it, these are individuals with huge amounts of power.
Yeah.
And if things go wrong, they could wipe us. It's a bit like the United States in itself. It's a huge country that's seen as this, paragon of Hollywood and culture.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's got the biggest military in the world.
Laughably
and if things
enormous,
were to go south, it could wipe out everyone.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucked.
It's fucked. But it makes for a good film.
It does make for a good film, so I suppose that's something.
The last note that I have,
Yep.
It's a question, and I want you to think of I want you to put your bullshit cap on, everyone, and crank it up to 1 million, right? Why does Megamind have a crocodile room?
To keep the crocodiles in.
No, but it's got disco
Obviously.
balls.
No, come on, Danny, that's it. Next question.
Whoa! It's got
maybe
a disco ball. It's got stuff on the floor. What was he thinking when he made that?
Maybe he's trained the crocodiles to respond to hypnosis, and it's like specific light patterns. So the disco ball and the sort of metal walls and the bright lights, maybe that's some kind of holding pattern to keep the crocodiles at like a certain level of fury or whatever. And then when he wants them to attack, he sort of flashes a light in their faces, and they go berserk.
Wow. Do you know what I think?
What?
I think that he's watched every version of the show, The Real Housewives.
Okay.
And has seen how cold-hearted and reptilian the housewives can be in that show, and has compared them to crocodiles.
Okay.
And thought the best way to intimidate people is to get crocodiles but put them in the Real Housewives sort of lifestyles. So that's why they're when they're not in the jacuzzi a prisoner, as they often are in the show. They're in jacuzzis having drinks and all that, and when they're not in there, they're in this constant pleasure party room enjoying themselves. So that's the biggest, the scariest thing that Megamind could think of to scare prisoners.
A room full of Real Housewives of crocodile-ness.
Yep, that's what I think. Holy shit.
I'm glad we nailed
see,
that
when you
one
were
down.
speaking, I don't know, that just popped, everything came together so beautifully in my weird, fucked up little head.
Did you feel like Tina Fey on her balcony looking back into a room full of suspended paper? You were like,
yes,
Real Housewives.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So we're going to do that from now on. See, every single film that we do, I'm going to find the most obscure fucking thing, and we're going to figure out what happened there. What's going on?
Okay, I look forward to that very much.
No, I'll forget one.
I've only got one last thing. Who can you think of anybody else that might be a bad candidate for the Hero Bolt?
What do you mean?
Because, the reason that Hal is an interesting candidate for the Hero Bolt is because it leads to, a socioeconomic thing of, all of a sudden he has the means to have and get whatever he wants. So, who else would be a candidate for the Hero Bolt where it would be an interesting thing to see what they would do with their newfound powers, sort of thing?
Wait,
or is Hal
only in Megamind, or can it be in anywhere?
In Megamind, anything, I don't mind.
Stewie Griffin.
Yeah, because there's that thing about he always wants to kill his mother, and he could on a number of occasions.
Yeah, he literally could, but I don't know.
So maybe he's got godlike powers, and he's just looking at Lois, and he's just like, I could kill you, but
Eric Cartman.
I haven't actually watched South Park.
Oh, see, Eric, he's one of the worst characters. He's so fucking horrible. Jack Nicholson from As Good as It Gets.
I haven't seen that either.
Oh, he's fucking dreadful in that, but he somehow wins the affection of the female protagonist in it. Because being an arsehole, that's how it works. Who else? What do you think?
Well, I don't really know, and you've thrown me for a loop thinking about comedy shows. Now I'm thinking, would Homer Simpson be a bad person? He would be a bad person, surely. But no, because he's kind of a good guy underneath it all.
Yeah. Are you ready for this?
I am.
Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, that we shouldn't give Bill O'Reilly a hero.
Christmas would be saved at last.
Oh my god! Don't even make that joke. That's a horrifying alternate reality. I don't even want to consider.
That is terrifying. Can you imagine? Holy shit! Oh no! I think that's us.
That's us. I need to go and vomit thinking about what if Bill O'Reilly got superpowers. Jesus Christ! Have you got a closing statement, Chuck?
Yes. If one lesson is to be learned from this film, it's that good grammar and pronunciation are so fucking important.
What? Because he calls it Titanville.
No, because
Metrocity.
When he calls it "stay out of Metrocity," and then he comes back and is like, it's a clever way of getting the villain to return, but it's like, just pronounce it correctly, and he wouldn't. But to be fair, where would he have gone?
That's true. Yeah, he would have just gone to another city and carried on.
Yeah, true. Never mind.
Never mind.
Fuck grammar.
Nobody speaks
Pronounce
properly
everything
ever
shite.
again. Spell words however your soul pleases.
Yes, definitely. But there you go.
Yes.
What about you?
Again, I think this is one of the greatest films ever made. It makes some very important points about a number of different sort of social considerations and stuff. I really, really love this film. I have watched it again and again and again, and I will watch it again and again and again. It's really good.
Yes, it is.
We've got a bit of capitalist shilling to do.
Yes, we do. We do.
Hey.
Okay. The podcast has link trees, and Lewis's link tree is linktr.ee/Lewis_Brindley. Mine's is /O'Hiram, and the podcast's is /Shouting into the Void. There you'll find our socials, our YouTube, our Instagram. Go have a look. We have a PayPal donate button, so anything you can spare, anything at all, would be greatly appreciated. And we want to take the opportunity, as we do every week, to thank our wonderful, wonderful patrons. Chloe.
Thank you.
Darius.
Thank you.
Sophie.
Thank you.
Peter.
Thank you.
Aditya.
Thank you.
Richard.
Thank you.
Natalie.
Thank you.
And Dougie.
Thank you, one and all. You mean the world because you help us keep the lights on at Void Towers, and you enable us to keep making the show that we love. For example, drawing extremely adult conclusions from a kids' film. So thank you very much, one and all. You mean the world, and thank you for your continued support.
Yes, thank you. We also have merch on Teespring and Redbubble. We sell lots of stuff. T-shirts, tote bags, jumpers, stickers. Go have a look, see what you fancy, or don't. It's up to you.
Yep.
And last but certainly not least, we are partnered with an amazing company called Number 12 Crochet Avenue, and Lewis is going to say some wonderful things about them, all of which are true.
Indeed I am. Number 12 Crochet Avenue is a wonderful company run by my wonderful wife, in which she crochets, and she's very good at it. If you want to know all sorts of things about what she's up to at the moment, crochet-wise, and you want to bless your Instagram feed with some beautiful posts, you can go and check her out at Number 12 Crochet Avenue. It would mean the world. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, so it's time to decide what we're doing next week.
Yes, spin that wheel.
Yeah. We are doing Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan.
Indeed. There is so much Star Trek out there, and we talk about it at great length on the show. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is considered to be, I think, one of the best iterations of the original series cast.
Yes.
I've watched it once many, many years ago. I will be interested to see what it is like, whether I like it, whether I hate it. If you do like Star Trek, and you would like to see us do more Star Trek, say, because I think both Danny and I love Star Trek. We'd be very willing to do more Star Trek at some point.
Yep. And this film was recommended to us by one of our patrons, Doogie. So thank you, Doogie.
Yes. If you would like to also suggest a movie for us to do, or a TV show, or whatever, then you can check out patreon.com/shoutingintothevoid, and you can sign up to be a patron, and you'll be able to suggest films for us to do.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I think that's us.
Indeed it is. I think it is us. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast. We will see you next week to talk about Star Trek.
Khan!
Yes,
There you
Khan
go.
indeed.